Well, today is the last weekday Mass before Palm Sunday and before the beginning of Holy Week. It's a time of waiting on the part of Jesus' apostles. But it's not a happy wait. It's a strange moment for the apostles. It's a waiting for the unknown, a kind of nail-biting, nervous wait. They don't know what's coming. Jesus has given some hints during his ministry that he must be crucified before he rises from the dead. He must lay down his life in order to redeem the human race. For many of the apostles, this is simply a cost they cannot accept. St. Peter was the first one to voice his displeasure at this strange fact of Jesus' passion and resurrection. Many of the apostles want to try to short-circuit the process. They want to get to the resurrection, but skip over the passion. We hear in today's gospel about the kind of final reckoning on Jesus' message, as many of the people around him discuss whether they think it's compelling or not. We know how compelling a person Jesus is and how persuasive he was at every moment. But the strange thing is that many people still walked away from him. How do we explain this? On the one hand, people are free to do as they will. The other thing is that many of us simply don't hear what we don't want to hear, and we don't see what we don't want to see. The narrative in the gospel today tells us about a number of people who preferred, let's say, the city of man to the city of God. They may even have been persuaded that Jesus was the Messiah, but they said to themselves, if we believe in him, this will have consequences. We could get pushback from the Romans, who are our rulers. We could have a civil disruption of some kind. We could have a revolution of ideas. All these things were, in the moment, more important to these people than salvation. St. Peter had a similar doubt a number of weeks back in the Gospel, and Jesus said to him, you are not thinking the way that God thinks. You are thinking the way that people think. And certainly the people in today's gospel are an example of people thinking in a worldly, earthbound way. They're not thinking about what matters most, which is truth and salvation. In an uncertain time like the one we're living through right now, when we, like the apostles, are also waiting for something that we don't totally comprehend yet, we're wishing we didn't have to play the waiting game and wait for the unknown. We may wish to have the resurrection without the passion. But we can take hope in what Jesus did in this exact moment in today's narrative. It says, Jesus no longer walked about in public, but he left for the region near the desert, to a town called Ephraim, and there he remained with his disciples. As he so often does when things become insane and crazy and unpredictable in the gospel, Jesus goes on retreat. Retreats are times when we remember what really matters, when we're not as distracted by passing daily concerns. As we all know, we are all on retreat right now, just like Jesus and his disciples were at this moment. And we are all fasting and going without in different ways. But just as Jesus shows us, we know how our story ends, and we know that our story ends in resurrection. And this truth will make us sure that our fasting will be fruitful and our hearts will remain full of hope.